So, oh God, no. So enjoy, okay? So, thanks.
We have a high-tech, you can see, video stand right here, the business card holder. Some people think it's a business card holder. I think it'll get a nice shot of my chair. Let's see. Well, this is not going to be good standing. I think we just need either a normal chair level for me or a higher. Sorry, I should have thought about it. So hey everyone, I'm here in Stuart, Florida. As you can see, there's about 1,000 people here. I don't know why that was funny. Yeah, great. So if you push that back, I'll lean against it. Yeah, perfect. Look at that. All right. So if you notice me being a little bit awkward with my arm, I just was in a argument with the ocean floor in Mexico and can't raise my arm. So I've got a good kind of handshake back here, and my forearm and fingers are fine, but I'm a little bit even more awkward than usual. So, hello.
Hi.
Honor to be here. We have a lot to cover tonight. We're going to solve the whole Trump situation, whether you're for Trump or not sure about it or anti-Trump. I hear there's some anti-Trump people, not here, but elsewhere. Maybe in the land I come from, Boulder, Colorado. It's not a lot of Trump fans, but I know he's nearby. I invited him, but disappointed. Couldn't attend. And we want to figure out the whole love situation and commitment and relationships. That'll be number 2. We'll solve that one just in time for Valentine's Day. And I think that's the basic agenda. If any of you, has anyone ever experienced loneliness here? None of the men, of course, but so we'll figure that one out too. And I think that's our agenda for the night. So it's weird having a camera on me that I'm not interacting with. So hi. So I did write a book. I wrote a book. Has anyone here seen About a Boy with Hugh Grant and some boy who actually went on to fame? So there's this great line in there where he's challenging the mother who's having a hard time with boy about her parenting skills, and she says, "What do you know? You're just a, bachelor. It's kind of good for nothing." And he said, "Well, I was a boy. I was a kid. That's my authority here." So I have no authority to talk about love or relationships or loneliness or any of the subjects that we cover in here. I covered in here. Other than, like yourself, I have gone through them. As Hugh Grant says, I was a boy once. So I went through it. So this is not from a place of authority, but from a place of experience. And I think that can connect somewhat with the Buddhist path that I grew up with, which is related with the mindful path that you just entered. And you definitely don't need to be Buddhist or care about Buddhism to kind of perhaps find the Buddhist perspective on relationships interesting. So there's kind of 2 notions of relationship. And maybe I'll start out on the relationship thing. If you get bored, just start to leave and I'll switch over to Trump. The 2 perspectives, does anyone want to outline the 2 perspectives on relationships? Do the work for me. There's there's one view where, as they say, 2 flames become one. I call it the Jerry Maguire view. You complete me. Like I'm okay, I have my job, I have my life, but someday I'm going to meet the one. And from that moment forward, the book ends, right? The fairy tale ends, and you live happily ever after. And as we all hopefully know here, it's never written about or really covered because, it would be like life in Stuart, Florida. It would be perfect and beautiful and endless. But to be serious, it kind of can't exist, right? It's this sort of gated community version of love. Like everything's perfect, Stepford Wives kind of, I'm so happy, I'm so fulfilled, and until I met you, life was incomplete. So that's one notion, and obviously I'm a little bit biased, perhaps you're picking that up, that maybe that's not a healthy approach to a long-term relationship. It's actually, ironically, a very healthy approach if you want only short-term relationships, because you won't get too far. And that kind of approach is often fueled, like I went to high school in Vermont. Anyone have a Vermont relationship here? No. Or relationship to Vermont is what I meant. So, half my friends at high school in Vermont got married right after I graduated, I have to say, which is crazy, because that's like 20-something years ago. I wish them luck. Maybe they've done great. But, a lot of us get married or get into relationships based on this notion that, oh my God, I'm so happy and I'm so in love. And that is beautiful and super fun. And we've hopefully all been through that 8 or more times. But it's not enough, right? So what is enough? Who here has a best friend that you've had in your life through ups and downs for more than 10 or 20 years? Or if you're super young, we'll go to 5. So maybe that's a more stable model for love and for a relationship, is friendship. But obviously there's something different about love, right? There's intimacy, there's some passion, there's get to nag over bills more, and it's different. So friendship as the foundation, and then with a little spice on top, a little icing. That's sort of the Buddhist notion, and the Buddhist notion is actually founded on Maitri, which Melanie and I were talking about earlier. Does anyone here know what Maitri is? You all know what Maitri is, but does anyone know the term? Anyone? Yeah, Melanie. Yeah. Phew. Yeah. But loving kindness for what? Or for yourself. So that's a hard one, right? A lot of us go into life and marriage and relationships looking for love in all the wrong places without trying to make friends with ourselves. So loving kindness is a kind of like Buddhist-y term, but basically, or religiously or spiritually, but basically it just means as Pema Chodron. Anyone know Pema Chodron? Yeah. All right, we've got a lot of Pemas, very few Maitris. So she says it's just making friends with yourself. And as you know, that can be tough, right? There's this almost like, how you're always trying, many of us are trying to always lose 5 pounds and then we'd be happy with ourselves. We do that to ourselves spiritually as well. If only I was a little bit more outgoing or a little less awkward or, no, I'm not talking about myself, Mom, or whatever it was. So imagine if you can make friends, think of what you least like about yourself right now. You don't have to tell your neighbor. Imagine if you could make friends with that right now. That's tough stuff, right? And a lot of us go through life, Melanie and I were talking about this a lot today, on Instagram, doing this, kind of like the itching and scratching our way through life instead of taking a deep breath and dealing with what's going on in our life. And I'm seeing this around Trump a lot. People who maybe aren't totally sure about it keep saying, everything's going to be great. You just hope for the best. It'll be fine. You don't have to be negative. Let's just get back to inspirational stuff. Like the people on our Instagram account are horrified by Elephant lately because we're talking about Trump and Women's March and all these things that I find super inspiring and exciting, yes, in good and bad ways. And we keep getting people saying, can you just go back to Rumi quotes about going into the field and meeting someone? Because that felt safe. We looked to elephantjournal.com / subscribe. No, I'm kidding. We look to you for inspiration. We don't look to you for talking about politics or talking about real stuff. Let alone making friends with the parts of myself that I don't like. That would be even worse than Trump. Or harder, I should say, because I'm sure there are some Trump fans. God bless them. So that's basically it. The night's over. Thank you very much. Yeah. Buy the book. So things I would like to do with you. I could read a little bit of it, if you like, that kind of talks about that way of being, which includes loneliness. So like on Facebook, our page is called Elephant Love, Relationships, and Loneliness. So those things are connected. And from the Buddhist point of view, many of you think of aloneness as okay and loneliness is the problem. From the Buddhist point of view, even loneliness is not the problem. It's actually a great thing. Like, I don't know if you know the shakuhachi flute or any kind of music like the blues where it's sad, but it's so beautiful and it's so good. And in a happy, happy positivity world, you might get rid of that stuff because it's not happy enough. But if you include Maitri, loving kindness for yourself, compassion for yourself, that leads to empathy for others, and that leads to that kind of beautiful music and beautiful art and fuller expression and fuller palette of life, where everything doesn't have to be Stepford Wives, which is a very dated illusion, but I love that example, so I'm never going to give it up. It was dated when I was young, but anyway, you should check it out. All right, so should I read something or should I?
Yeah.
So I wrote the book because I was 38, I think, when I started it, and I love writing, and I wanted to write all my life, but then I started this business so that other people could write, and we could have this big community and talk about how to improve the world, and then that's all I did suddenly for 10 years. That's how life happens. And I started writing various books and just never finished them. And I have 3 of them right now, and I'm sure many of you out there. And if you want to talk about the process of writing and how to write a book successfully, I'm happy to go there because I love it. And we actually teach on that in our academy on Elephant. We have an online training school, which I don't recommend. I'm not pushing it, but it's cool. So, so I started writing because I was 38, 39, and I really want children, and I really wanted to figure out this whole marriage thing because I don't particularly want to have children without marriage, but marriage seems kind of dated and like it's not really working, and most of my generation and younger have their doubts about it, but at the same time we still want it. We want our cake and we want to eat it too. But it has to be gluten-free, right? We don't want any of the problems. We don't want the indigestion. So, we want love. We want the big party. We want the white dress. We want the bridesmaids, although not the one who's doing nothing to help. And we want a meaningful, long relationship with good children. We don't want to mess it up. But then real life happens, and it's so complicated. And I was sort of thinking, like, how do I possibly head into this? It's kind of like Clooney in The Perfect Storm. Like, how do I head into this? That movie that no one watched, but it was a good book. Yeah, I watched it too. But there's this image of this little fishing boat heading into this wave. I mean, you people in Florida wouldn't know about huge storms, but so how do you head into marriage where you say I do and I commit for life where you can actually mean that, because change is going to happen. So what kind of marriage and commitment can handle change? And so in the Asian world, they often talk about bamboo as being strong and yet flexible. So if you're rigid and kind of American, it might not work out because you might crack. But if you're somehow strong in your marriage, your relationship, whether we're talking about marriage or just a relationship, if you can allow room for change and independence and even loneliness, and that's where it comes back to Maitri. If you haven't made friends with yourself, you can't allow the other person's space. You're going to have clinginess, you're going to have neediness. Have any of you gone through being with a lover who was clingy or needy? Any of you? Or have you been that way? So we all do both. There's that depressing French quote, those French, that says, like, someone always loves the other person more than, like, someone in the relationship always loves more than the other. I hate that quote. So this whole book was written to punch that quote, which is basically that we're looking for a match. And a match is kind of like, what are those when you're a kid? A teeter-totter, where there's, it's fun, right? Teeter-totters are fun. There's a play, there's a give and take, there's a tension. And that tension is like, what else is that like? It's like a dance. So it's kind of romantic and sexy and yet, but it's not like a gender old-fashioned dance where one person is leading. It's a dance with a lot of tension in it, sexy tension, because it's very equal. It's like two wires coming together and sparking. So, what was I talking about?
Why you wrote the book?
Why I wrote the book. Of course I forget that. I'm trying to avoid that. So I wrote the book because I really enjoy, so my situation. Wait, sorry?
You were in Asia, not American.
Well, so nothing, I never mean to be pejorative about the American or the Western view. So I think actually my parents' Buddhist teacher, Chögyam Trungpa, who founded Naropa University, if any of you know him, he said about Naropa, he said, it's where East meets West and the sparks will fly, which is actually a very convenient quote to have thought of just now, because that's the sparks. So you want, both coming together. It's really kind of an amazing time. It's the first time in history where we've had, it's this truly small world. Like, we can publish a blog on elephant, and you can read it in Mongolia for free 5 seconds later. 3 seconds later, if you're really paying attention to elephant. So I wrote the book because I have a certain comfort and enjoyment with dating and with being alone. Being alone took me a long time to get comfortable with, being lonely and alone. When I remember in my 20s, I lived in Boston, and if it was Friday night, I would and I wasn't going out, I was kind of ashamed, and I would close my door, and I'd be really quiet so my roommates wouldn't be like, hey, Waylon, why aren't you going out? Are you not cool? You're not cool. Waylon, you're not cool. So I would hide on Thursday and Friday nights if I wasn't going out. And if I was going out, I'd be cool, And at the time, and if we'd had Instagram back then, I would have been one of those people, right? But eventually, hopefully, read 5 Pema Chodron books, do some meditation, have your heart broken, have a business go south, do whatever you need to do, and you will become a good human being who likes yourself. That's my plan to success. And that's why Buddhism never sells. No. So I am comfortable with that loneliness, and I actually really enjoy it. Do you ever have those nights where you have your hot cocoa? I'm kind of going into a cliche, I never drink hot cocoa, but you have your tea or whatever, and or your scotch, and the gentleman and the ladies, all right, or her just specifically, the bourbon. You have your drink, you have your book, you have your Netflix, and you have your, you don't have winter here really, but in Colorado it's amazing. You have snowy night, and, you have your cute Hudson Bay blanket, and it's just you would not, if Kanye called you up and said, come headline my show tonight or whatever, come backstage, you'd be like, I'm good. I'm watching a movie I don't really care about on Netflix. I can't find anything. I watched Breaking Bad 2 years ago. I guess it's time again. Because there's nothing you'd rather do than spend quality time with yourself, and that is what making friends with yourself feels like all the time, except you don't have to be home to do it. You can go to a party by yourself, you can go to dinner by yourself, and you can have, imagine, how fun it is to travel. Have any of you ever traveled with a best friend, where you're actually getting along with them for the most part? So you go to Paris with a best friend or something. I've never done it, but my idea is that it sounds really awesome, right? And then you imagine the same thing, going to Paris by yourself, and suddenly you're like, I don't speak the language, I feel super introverted, I'll just get on a tourist bus, I'll just do the tourist thing, because it's safe. So imagine if you're friends with yourself, you basically have your best friend with yourself all the time. And a best friend who will love you unconditionally, because unlike your best friend, even your best friend can get away from you and probably wants to once in a while, and you can never get away from yourself, and that's actually kind of a gift. So in Buddhism, speaking of never getting away from yourself, they talk about marriage it's another really sexy Buddhist example. They talk about marriage as being like a snake that's stuck in a bamboo tube. So that actually does sound sort of sexual. Never thought of that somehow until now, but awkward. Cut the video. But the notion is that you can only head in one direction. So you're really committed. And that's what marriage is to me. So why I wrote the book was, I was like, how can I leave dating behind and never want something fresh or something new ever again? And how can I make friends more and more and more and more deeply with one human being? And how can we go through health and illness and different careers and different, moving around and struggling to raise children well, and how can we go through all those things? How can I go through all that and actually follow through, you know? Because, I mean, I'm just being frank here. Maybe you guys should be giving the talk, but that sounds like really hard to me. So if any of you are doing that, you should be giving the talk. So is anyone here married in a marriage that you feel like talking about at all? No. Those are two different questions. Yeah. So what do you feel? What do you feel like? You know, once the honeymoon period wears off, what gets you not only through, but like what helps you keep enjoying it?
Here's a little background on me. This is my 5th marriage.
Okay. So practice.
And I'll tell you, I was married 4 times by the age of 30 because I was so codependent on drugs. I was going in one I was married to two guys at the same time.
Uh-huh.
Because I was so codependent, I could be like, go marry this one in Vegas and like then go and do cocaine and then divorce her. It was insane. Completely insane.
Right.
And so
once you say Vegas, I know cocaine's coming.
Right. and so at the age of 29, my life just kind of like, of course, got worse. And I had to make some changes. And so I had to decide what I needed to do. Because I was getting in lots and lots of trouble. And so I stayed single. And then I had therapy, of course. Core ordered at first, but then I continued. Always have a therapist, so
Okay.
it's something to talk to. And I'm also a psychotherapist too now.
Nice.
But I was pretty much told if you have to learn to be alone, lonely does not equal being alone. And I didn't even know how to comprehend that. So anyways, fast forward, I met my husband. We've been together, we'll be married 15 years.
All right.
Wow. In March.
Before we clap, because we always clap at the number. How's it going?
It's going great.
All right, now let's clap.
So this is his 2nd marriage, and he didn't know. I kind of hid the past from him for about a year before I kind of like blurted it out.
Yeah.
But this is
Yeah.
who I am. I mean, he was like, it was like, oh, okay.
But you'd already married, so you were good.
Well, no, he had just asked me to marry him.
Oh, I see.
By the way, you need to
Aw.
things. I was married to 2 guys at one time.
This is sort of romantic.
Yeah.
I love that.
So it's very interesting. So how do you keep it alive? And see, it's a different culture than I am. I'm from the Southwest. I'm from New Mexico, born and raised there. He's German, like from Germany, only been in the States. We met when we first came to the States.
German from Germany. Jesus.
Right.
I thought you just meant German.
So but him and I both have, and I've learned, let me tell you, I learned over those like 8 years of being alone and learning to like be alone. Like I just told her, like going on trips alone, I love it. I can do anything alone. Thank God.
Yeah.
Because I spent the first 29 years of my life because of the abuse that I suffered through from the childhood, from my father and all of the blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I was so deeply entrenched in what others thought of me and what men and what I had. I couldn't
Yeah.
be alone.
So thank you.
Yeah.
So that makes a lot of sense. I mean, on some level, it's all rational, that path. Like if you have that kind of experience as a child, you are going to look elsewhere for something happy and good. What's that?
And for people like my dad.
Right.
My dad was an alcoholic, abusive, very controlling person. Not that the Germans not controlling, but I got to control for him now.
Right. So you want to look for, we all do that. So in the Buddhist tradition, we call it theism. So we look for, I mean, it's also a word outside of Buddhism, but we talk about theism as not about God particularly, but about our tendency to look for happiness outside of ourselves. I'm going to be happy if and when I have a BMW i8, with the wings, with the doors. And, whatever we think is going to make us happy, News at 11, go to any place where they have all those things, and you will see them managing to be miserable because someone didn't bring their Sunday paper, or their kid left their thing out, or, whatever. So we have to, and I really, the only thing I would invite you is to also make friends with that word lonely. Because the word, not just aloneness, the word we think we don't want is actually the one we have to make friends with. And it sounds like you're there. So,
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
That was awesome. So you write number 2. And I've had a lot of good relationships. I've been really blessed to have really kind of good friends and fun. But I had no idea. So I kind of just wrote and contemplated all those relationships, and it's kind of organized in 4 seasons, which is how I wrote it. And as you'll see, it's pretty frank, as my mom didn't fully appreciate. It's very, very frank and open, and so there's nothing that's not in here, I would say, which is probably a reason not to buy it, if you're looking for a reason not to buy it. It's a horror show. I mean, you open these. And I put in, I also, in case you don't like the writing, I put in all my favorite quotes about that second kind of love ever in this book. And I mixed in the Buddhist teaching. So the basic Buddhist visualization, maybe I'll end with that before reading something, is of a marriage, of a relationship of any kind, but particularly of a long-term relationship, is that you're not facing each other, 2 flames becoming one, which is a beautiful, beautiful analogy, and I respect anyone who believes in that. But you're not completing one another. There's still space between the 2 of you. There's some great Khalil Gibran quote that's in here about, but there shall be spaces in our togetherness. And so there's always going to be a little space, and I invite you guys to enjoy that space. Without any space, dancing isn't that fun. Even making out with someone or sex isn't that fun if there's no space at all. You want a little bit of play. Maybe not much if you're feeling pretty hot for one another, but a little bit. Think about being super sweaty on one of those hot summer nights without AC back in the 80s. Whenever they didn't have AC. You want a little bit of a gap. And then the Buddhist visualization isn't just that. So I wrote this blog on Elephant about a year before the book started, titled Love is Selfish. And it was prompted by this friend of mine, this lady friend of mine who I was in love with, and she was in love with me. And she wrote me something like, I don't want to go on a picnic with someone for the rest of my life. There's things I want to do in life. My idea of life isn't just to fall in love and the end. There's things I want to accomplish in life. And I loved that. So I wrote this blog titled Love is Selfish. And it was about sort of that first notion of love being kind of, it's all about me, right? And that's a little bit the opposite of what love is, right? Isn't love about caring? Isn't love about affection? Isn't love about kids? If you're passing notes, isn't love about giving, right? And just being open. So that Khalil Gibran quote was in there. So anyway, I lost my train of thought because I can't avoid making a joke every 15 seconds. But I'll read a little bit, and if you applaud, I'll read a little more. And if you boo or throw things, I'll stop reading. So it could be a long night if you're being polite. So so we can do 2 things. I can read things that make sense and will be a good introduction to it, or one of you can say a random number and I'll read that page.
42.
Which is way more fun. 42.
You got it.
All right. Why do you pick that number?
That's her favorite number.
Oh, that's my age.
Oh,
So.
it's getting too weird now.
It'll be even weirder when she's reading you the book in bed, All right. So should I just start at the very first line, which is half a sentence, or should I go down to the first paragraph?
I would start at the second paragraph. Fourth word.
All right. I like it. I don't think that makes sense, though, so I'm going to go back. All right, so this is I won't introduce it at all, and I'll just let you. I'm going to start right in the middle of the sentence. Have glasses. So we drink out of the bottle, and I eat many dates, and we eat good chocolate, and I show you how. Don't chew, just place on tongue, enjoy it as it melts, and you do not care. And our words are mine braid until even our hearts touch. Everything is a joke or sad. I ask about your comment that I am ahead of myself. I did not understand it, though it sounds right. I can feel myself falling in love with you. I dig in my heels to slow the fall. For this love for you is not love or for you. It is only enthusiasm. Instead, I will give you space. This is how I return to this moment where all tensions are solved, not by needing resolution, and I listen to you and make jokes and share, and yet still I fall in love, knowing it is not real. We will find out how deep the roots wend, if this is more than just mutual projection, but not tonight. We talk about private things. You are brave in your openness, and I am open. This is one thing that is easy for me. And I would like to remember that we watched the yellow moon rise behind the black trees and the occasional flashlights bobbing up the low mountain trails. I ask if I can hold your hand. I would like to remember that you laugh at me for asking, and I would like to remember how I first touched one of your long hands and how your fingers enthusiastically yet sweetly explored mine, and how my strong, relaxed hand held yours. You have calluses. You laugh when I kiss one of your hands, so in a bad French accent I threaten to curtsy next. That's my deal closer. As we talk, our hands wander, but only slightly, and finally I do not ask, we kiss, and it is our first kiss, so we take our time. I would like to remember our first kiss. Quote, sometimes when I look deep in your eyes, I swear I can see your soul, end quote. Anyone know that one? James? We kiss more and more. I kiss your top lip, if there's children watching. It's not that much, I don't think. I honestly haven't read this since I wrote it, so. Actually, to be more accurate, since I edited it about 14 times and could not read it again. I kiss your top lip, a slight bite, your neck, and more. My failure to shave begins to hurt your face and lips. My hand in your night dark hair and on your chin and your sharp hips and smooth shoulder. And we talk as we do this, and I interrupt you with a kiss. It is fun to interrupt when the interruption is welcome. And I lay you down, and I lay beside you and over you, and we talk, kiss more and more, and I touch your sternum, which is close to your heart. And you touch and kiss me, but I do not pay attention to me, I pay attention to you. Time happens. You decide that I will leave. It is too dangerous to stay. I look forward to the moonlit long walk, though I fear the giddy joy after a first date. Joy always precedes heartbreak. Just before I leave your tent, you say something like, I may seem impenetrable. You two back there have enjoyed the wine too much. No, I'm kidding. All right, not enough. I may seem impenetrable, but I have to ask you to be careful with my heart. And she actually said that, and it was quite memorable. And that's the moment in the movie where the music gets like, foreshadowing. Shall we jump around?
Sure.
Jump around?
What happened after?
Well, you'll have to read the book.
Are you selling the book?
Yeah.
Yes, we are selling the book.
So I actually brought some books out with me, so I didn't bring that much because I had to carry them myself, and my arm obviously isn't working. I had to ask this guy behind me to lift it up into because I can't. But yeah, we have them, and if there's not enough, people can buy them online. And right now there's a Valentine's special until Valentine's, where if you buy two, one's a gift, is basically the price of 1 plus 10. And I should say just about the book, it's $35, so that is kind of a deal. The $10 thing. That we printed it 20 blocks from. This is where Trump and I are on the same page. We printed it 20 blocks from our office in Boulder, and it paid for their Christmas bonuses, and it was a big deal at this printer. It was the first book they'd printed in decades, and because they'd gone on to printing brochures and whatever was left. And the binding was plastic free. All books now, which I didn't realize, and I'm an obnoxious environmentalist, as Melanie can tell you from lunch. The book cover is plastic free. All book covers are now coated in plastic. And if you know about the dangers of plastic, particularly for children or anyone developing, it's not good to have that on your hands and then the rest of you. So it's plastic free, and the printer literally said, but you know, if you don't coat it, it's going to fall apart. And as someone who's not a big fan of McDonald's, which their food uneaten will never fall apart, I said, well, when will it fall apart? And they said, well, you know, like with heavy use, like in 50 years. And I was like, so like a book, like books should fall apart eventually. So this book is technically compostable, and the paper is the actually most eco thing about most books. People think paper is bad. Paper coming from a tree farm, FSC, forest certified, is great and provides room for wildlife and great jobs, middle class jobs, and all that. And I think that's about it. Oh, and we donate to, can't get more American than this in a great way. We donate to help rescue Mustangs in Colorado, which need it.
With every purchase of the book?
With every purchase of the book, we donate, I think the value is $1 per book. It's all written about in here.
Mustangs.
What's that?
Where? Was it for the baby elephants?
For the,
Mustangs.
we started, you've read it. So we started off with the baby elephants with the Sheldrick Foundation, but then I actually changed it to the Mustangs because they're in Colorado and I wanted to know the place. Sheldrick is amazing. If any of you are obsessed with elephants, which I am, Sheldrick is amazing. So maybe I'll read one more thing. If anyone has a number that's burning a hole in your...
77.
77? Did you say that? Who said that? Oh, you did. Okay, that was awkward. I was staring at the lady right now. She was not fazed by me. 77. Right near the pickup truck. It's like a kid's book.
Who did the illustrations?
So I did them. If you like them, I did them. And if you don't like them, some kid did them. So, but yeah, I used to be an artist, but it was pre-Facebook days, and I had no idea how to market myself as an artist without hating myself. And I didn't really want to do commissions for people that I didn't care about, and so I didn't become an artist. So that's, we all love to criticize social media, but if I went to, was graduating from school now, I probably would have become an artist because it's easy to kind of.
So all the drawings in there are yours?
All the good ones, yeah. Yeah. I'll show you one in particular that's my dog, and actually everything is sort of anonymous in here. I didn't want to completely humiliate people who are involved, but the dog, my dog does not, has no shame. So that's my doggy, and in real life, his name's Redford. Redford Lewis. He has his own hashtag on Instagram, which is the douchiest thing I've said today. All right, so 77. Looks like you got a bonus Leonard Cohen quote coming in here.
Just thinking about him.
Oh, God.
The world is watching.
Well, it's just some of this stuff is kind of personal, and I don't know why I put it into a book. I think you'll have to read 77. I will read the quote to you, though. Right, exactly, well said. Except this is getting recorded for all time, so. I hear, this is Leonard Cohen, who had a beautiful voice, and if you don't like this book, go home and listen to Suzanne tonight, and you will feel the best of what this book could be. I hear their voices, so warning, I cannot read Leonard Cohen as well as Leonard Cohen can read himself with that voice. I hear their voices in the wine that sometimes did me seek. The band is playing Auld Lang Syne, but the heart will not retreat. There's no forsaking what you love, no existential leap. As witnessed here in time and blood, 1,000 kisses deep. He was a wonderful guy and a Zen practitioner, which is interesting. And he got horribly, does anyone know the story? What do you call it? When an accountant steals from you? Embezzled, upon which forced him to go back on tour and connect with a whole new generation right before he died. So a little silver lining too. So I'll read a little bit of the first chapter and then we can talk about Trump. Is that okay? Okay. I don't want to get too long on you. So I'll read part of the author's note just so you have an idea what it's about. And in the author's note, I tried to write it in an interesting way so it's not just a commercial. We no longer long for happily ever after. We no longer believe in you complete me or Mad Men gender roles. But we all still love to love love. This book is an exploration of a love for a new generation, a love replete with intimacy and trust, a love with room for change and independence, a love without ownership. The rest of it is too much of a commercial. First chapter. And so I wrote this after a date. That was great. And, you guys know the internet. Have you ever had a negative or mean comment on anything you published online? So I put this up and I didn't think about it. It was called Things I Would Like to Do With You in the Woods. And it was just writing about this experience. And I came back and it was super popular, which is kind of unusual for intimate little stuff. And all the comments were 100% positive. And I felt like, I just struck gold. Like, what's going on? Like, the internet's being positive. So I kept at it and it became a book. Things I Would Like to Do With You in the Woods. Quote, the simplest things are often the truest, end quote. Richard Bach. I would like to go a ways away to a cabin, and I would like to look you in the eyes, and you look me in the eyes, as lovers do. Your soft, invisible smile, quiet, warm, calm. I would like to not come back for 10 days. 10 days is not long enough, but it is longer than I've taken for myself in 11 years. It would be a first visit, a return to the woods of my youth. I can cut wood quite well and show you how. I can pick too much mint because I am distracted by you. The mint is strong, almost bitter in the wild. I would like to walk with you in the moonlight. The grass is wet. I can see you clearly in the dark, only you are black and white. But I cannot see how the gate opens, so I have to feel for it, and the ground is uneven, so walking, talking, listening to, and with you, I walk left then right, as if tipsy. The ground is not flat out here, and I love you. I love that about nature. It is uneven. I would like to love you, but I do not know you, and I value space more than even love, for in space we can play. I would make a fort in our cabin out of sheets, and we can go inside and just lie there. I'm looking at you into you, and you are looking at me into me. And we could read a paperback. I have a good reading voice. And we could have a fire, though it is not cold, but it would light up our fort, flickering warmly with shadows of our future. I would like to love you and you love me, for love can only be shared, but my luck does not run that way these days or for a while, and I have a feeling that I will not love and be loved again until all my luck is run out. Quote, a good traveler has no fixed plans and is not intent on arriving, end quote, Lao Tzu. I would like to talk with you about things I care about that others do not care about because they do not care about me, and here you care, not because you care about me, but because you care about the things I care about. I would like to listen. I could do it half the night, hour turning over hour, until I fall asleep in your words. I need to make up time. I need to listen and breathe and take you in and just stop. I need to relax and breathe, and what I need most, of course, is to cry, but you will not see my tears, for I cannot quite cry yet. The mosquitoes, the water roaring beneath us, your unwritten life, set like calligraphy on a new page, arching, bright, sharp, wandering, struggling, fast, laughing. Letting go is half the beauty and elegance. You are kind. I would like to bring a cheap paperback with pen illustrations, say, and read it in the crook of a tree, and I would gingerly walk there barefoot, and you would be overdressed in a $1 secondhand dress as if going to a play. You would skip stones in the creek, then I would try and outdo you. You would set out a picnic and a cold thermos of mint water, and I would eat your leftovers, and the trees far above would waver greenly in my eyes as I looked up at you looking up at them. There is a yellow butterfly on the book waving its wings without flying, softly. I wonder what it is thinking about today. On the second to last night, I would like to make another fire, even though we do not need it for warmth because it is summer and we have old wool blankets. But the flickering flames, the shifting warm light, are the best light for talking endlessly, as if we were at camp. And sex is not the only thing humans can think about. And perhaps I could hold your hand. Little theme emerging. There is nothing better than holding a hand, feeling your fingers, your nails, your calluses, your palm, and your hand held yet holding mine, feeling the stress and bruises of life. Your strong fingers cautioning, rest now, you are cared for. When I awaken, I would like to meditate with or without you. It is up to you. And I would like to do the samurai's calisthenics, I can show you how, and brush my teeth in the cold stream. And it is the woods, so I would not need to shave. But I might anyways, because sometimes it is doubly nice shaving in the woods, one's face pressed up near to an old little mirror over a wash basin set on a rickety, winter-worn wood shelf. And I would like to make dark coffee in a French press, but you are better at it. I would like to care for you, and I would like to see you again, though I know you are already in love with another, and so your love is not available to me. And the funny thing is, I do not mind. Perhaps when one has come over a long mountain pass and is hungry, happy, beaten, and sad, and finally humbled and lonely, perhaps then sunshine is enough. And perhaps next time we could go for more than 10 days and never return. Quote, if your mind isn't clouded by unnecessary things, then this is the best season of your life. End quote, Wu Men. So, two final things. One, Melanie and I discussed offering a little meditation instruction, a moment of meditation. If you're not interested in that, you join most of humanity because meditation is not always interesting. But that's kind of also what's nice about it. It's like a cool drink on a hot day. And it can actually be a gateway into fun because anything you've ever enjoyed, a meal, making love, going for a walk, you had to do in the present moment. You had to be there. You had to show up. So meditation helps you show up and have a good time doing anything, including having tough conversations. So one of my favorite chapters in here, if I may, is titled, I would like to hear from you when you are confused or something. Relationships are easy when they're going well, but when they're tough, we tend to shut down. And meditation can help you, again, just acknowledge and be open and be messy and be okay with that. All right, so are people up for that? A little moment of meditation? Probably not more than 45 minutes or an hour or two. Okay. So this is Buddhist meditation. There's nothing inherently Buddhist about it. It's just bringing you back to the present moment. So if any of you hate Buddhism, you can just say this is being present. All right, so however you're sitting, on the floor, on the chair, it doesn't matter. You can sit on a cushion. The main thing is to be comfortable but awake. So when my parents' Buddhist teacher came to the U.S., he obviously, a lot of his students were hippies because they were open to that Buddhist weird stuff. And they would lie on the ground, not really wearing much clothes, and it'd all be cool. And he got them to kind of sit up and maybe wear clothes and just be awake. So take a good, alert, awake posture. Buddha means awakened one. So our eyes are going to be open in this particular meditation. There are meditations where your eyes can be closed. This meditation is called shamatha, which means, does anyone know what that means? It means resting the mind. That sounds pretty good to me. So resting the mind. And what are you resting the mind in?
Awareness.
Who said that? Cool. Anyone else? Who said that? Yes. So kind of the same thing, but resting the mind in the present moment. So it's kind of like surfing. Surfing well, unlike how I surfed so recently, to the detriment of my arm. So let's surf the present moment. So take a good posture. Your eyes are open. This is not a solemn or religious thing. This is simply showing up fully for your life. So you can kind of move your sit bones back and forth. Like if any of you ride a bike, you kind of want to be grounded on your sit bones, and ideally your knees, whether you're on a cushion or whatever, should be lower than your hips. Yoga people kind of know that. If you're super stiff, you'll be like this, and then your back will turn, and then your heart will hide, And then your shoulders will curl forward, and then your neck will do some weird thing, and then you'll have to go to yoga. So just root on your sit bones, eyes open but down 45 degrees, say about 6 feet or 4 feet in front of you, and find a spot on the floor, hello spot. I'm going to be looking at you for a while, and you don't really focus on that spot, you just rest on that spot. So it's a light focus. Your hands can simply be flat, palms on your thighs, short of your knees. So basically wherever if you look at me for a second, wherever your arm naturally falls, and then your hand falls from there. So it's not pulling you forward, and you're not doing some kind of like Kurosawa thing. You're just here. Kurosawa reference fell flat. Again. All right, so find that spot, and let's touch in. Make sure your neck is good, your chin is a little bit in. Take the best posture in almost aggressively superhero, good posture, Wonder Woman, Superman, and then relax it. So good posture, but then relax. Find your breath in and out. Just find your breath in and out. Don't count it or anything, just feel the breath. Place your awareness lightly on your breath in and out. Breathe in, a little gap, breathe out. Little gap, breathe in. Gap, breathe out. So this is not particularly meditation. This is just breathing. Just breathe in and out, kind of your natural breath. Some of us, perhaps including myself, haven't really touched in with our breath all day. So if you have a thought, if you notice a thought, maybe about a movie you watched, or something you did today, an argument you had, something that's troubling you, an argument or money or something exciting, dinner, can be good or bad. Whatever you're thinking about, just notice that. Place your awareness on it, and silently to yourself you say, thinking. It's not a negative judgment. You're just saying, I'm thinking. And then return your attention to the breath. And that's meditation. So breathe. Am I doing it right? Thinking. Return your attention to the breath. What's that sound? Thinking. Return your attention to the breath. Whatever comes up, good or bad, happy or sad, just notice it, thinking, and return your attention to your breath. Let's pause for a second. Does anyone have questions or issues with this so far? Or delights, observations? Anyone?
I think kind of sort of distorts for me, like before was more
Right.
with the breath.
Yeah. So once when I was in college, I was practicing a lot of Buddhism. I was like super into it, and I went to the Shambhala Center and was meditating, and the whole floor, I was like meditating hard, and the whole floor started like turning gold and tripping out, and I was like, whoa, like I'm about to get enlightened. And I stayed there for like 4 hours or something. Not as long as the Buddha, but pretty long. And it was really amazing, like stuff was happening, and I didn't get enlightened. And the next day, or whenever, I met with my meditation instructor, and I said, I had the most incredible meditation, I was like super meditating, super attentive, everything was turning golden. I mean, this has never happened, and I'm making fun of myself, but it was like a powerful experience. And he said, he looked at me, and he loved me, but he looked at me and he said, you're really a dramatic person, aren't you? And that was it. So the basic point is like, anything that comes up about the meditation, what do?
Think about it.
You notice your reaction, you say thinking, and you return to the breath. So the kids these days know NBD, but Trungpa Rinpoche back in the 80s was doing calligraphies of NBD. No big deal. There's a kind of no big deal mind about it. So he, in the Shambhala, the book of Shambhala, which is a kind of basic book about the stuff, basic, accessible, I should say. I still have no idea about half of it, but it says you could have a thought about murdering someone, wanting to oh, I hate that person, or about lemonade, and you just label it thinking and return to the breath. If you are kind of tripping out on the floor a little bit, it might be because you're focusing a little bit too much. Technique-wise, you just want to light.
I blinked my eyes, but it was still coming.
I mean, the light's a little dark too, so your eyes are trying to. I actually this is peaceful and beautiful. I love this place, by the way. I'm not leaving. It's going to get uncomfortable after a week. We invited him, but he won't leave. But it's best to meditate in a wakeful atmosphere, this kind of meditation, because it's one of our speedy tendencies. Or raise your hand if you're speedy generally. Like multitasking a fair amount during the day and maybe slightly late for stuff. When we stop and we actually go present, if you're speedy, there'll be this kind of boomerang effect. And an immediate tendency going back 2,500 years, it's in the old Buddhist scriptures, is you fall asleep. And so there's 6 classic obstacles and six classic antidotes to those obstacles. And the sleeping thing is because you're kind of, in a funny way, trying too hard after being too speedy. Not that that's what you were doing, but
I'm tired. I'm definitely tired.
Yeah, you might just be tired or a little bit tipsy, Any other questions or observations, good or bad? Anyone have a nice experience? Anyone have a...
I have a common.
Yeah.
I usually meditate with my eyes closed.
Yeah.
And
that's totally...
that was the first time I have ever really tried to meditate with my eyes open.
How is it different?
I have to say that I've always thought that with the eyes open, I would be more easily distracted.
Yeah.
But I just had the opposite experience. Right?
Yeah. So, has anyone read Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind by Suzuki Roshi? Yeah? What's the symbol in that whole book of enlightenment? Is the fly. So the distraction itself is what you're making friends with. So the reason why eyes open, in my mind, is slightly better, is because it's more how you live life, generally. So you're mixing the mind of meditation with the challenges of life. So if you can meditate with your eyes closed and be super peaceful, but then you get in your car and you're honking and you're on the phone and you're spill your Starbucks and God, I'm late for yoga class, out of my way. So you want to mix. So it is a little more challenging sometimes, but it's actually easier, like you said, to also stay awake in a way. But there are many meditations with your eyes closed that are super valid and super valuable, and it's great to do both and see the difference. The 2 basic meditations in Buddhism, like if you're a basic Buddhist, are shamatha and vipassana. Vipassana is even more open, where you raise your gaze more and you invite more distraction. So you're actually working with the distraction. And so the Buddhist summer camp, yes, I went to a Buddhist summer camp as a kid. our shirt said, if you lose your mind, come back. So it's not don't lose your mind, be perfect, be mindful, be, God, you better be mindful, son. You know, I want you to play football. But in Buddhism, it'd be like, you better be enlightened. It's, you know, when you are distracted, just come back. And that's the entire practice, is training your mind to come back naturally. And so when you go into your daily life and someone yells at you, or you don't get what you want, or you're in line, instead of arguing or getting caught up in the melodrama, which we all do, right? What they call klesha in Buddhism, which is that kind of really unpleasant neurosis that can stick with you for days. I've read about it. I haven't experienced it. But instead of getting caught up in that, you can see it. You can literally just habitually just see it and kind of come back to the present. And that doesn't make you like some Star Trek person who's always peaceful. It makes you actually more yourself, and maybe even more crazy in a way. But a lot of, you know, enlightened teachers historically are nuts in their beautiful own way. And if you know, like Trungpa Rinpoche would say, there's more enlightened masters, you know, in farms in America than there are in monasteries in Tibet. And he meant it, because, you know, if you're living life fully and simply and being present with what you do, and it's, you know, the craftsmanship, right? That's kind of a practice of being present. And that's why craft is really beautiful and valuable, and that's what we tried to do with the book. And then, any other questions, good or bad? I think the major thing I hate, criticism-wise, of meditation is that it's boring. It's actually a real gateway to enjoy your life. So don't think of it as like something you should do. If any of you think you should meditate, don't. You should not meditate. If you want to meditate, like I do, before you can go about your day, that's how you should meditate. So it just helps you be more sane and more present, create less melodrama, do things right the first time. It actually saves me a ton of time, because I'm a super energetic person, and I can get mad at people or be kind of neurotic in my business. I wrote a blog on Elephant titled "I'm an asshole" when I don't meditate in the morning, and it loses tons of time, the drama I create. So so my advice, is anyone curious about how to meditate in your daily life?
Yes.
Schedule-wise? So the 2 times that are most powerful, if you don't want to meditate all day long, which I recommend not doing, is when you first wake up, and as Melanie mentioned, don't have your phone on by your bed. Like, give yourself that moment of, as Samuel L. Jackson said, moment of clarity in the morning. When you wake up, you're not totally sure who you are. You're not really worrying about to-do lists. Right before the to-do list comes flooding in, and who you are comes flooding in, go meditate. You know, obviously you can go brush your teeth or let the dog out, or if you're a parent, you know, you can deal with the kids for 2 hours, and then you can go meditate. But you can meditate for I wouldn't meditate for shorter than a couple minutes, but you can meditate for 5 minutes. That's great. Pema Chodron and Sakyong, my teacher, talk about that all the time. Short is great. If you're just starting out, longer is going to be more helpful, and group meditation is going to be helpful, because if you meditate on your own, you'll find yourself like doing all kinds of weird things, including walking to other rooms without realizing it, because your mind is running your life right now, instead of you kind of, you know. So the title of one of the books by my teacher, the Sakyong, is Turning Your Mind into an Ally. So instead of like, you know, you're having a good time and then you think about a cookie and suddenly you're in the kitchen eating another cookie and you don't need that cookie. You're not even enjoying it because you're guilt tripping yourself while you're eating it. You can just be present with the next cookie you eat fully and enjoy the hell out of that cookie, you know, like eat, pray, love style. So I think we've gone on long enough.
So there's 2 times.
The other time is right before going to sleep. So if any of you have insomnia, anyone, trouble sleeping? Anyone? Show of hands. I almost never did, but I have, because I'm on all these like painkillers and stuff right now, which explains any of the issues you've had with me tonight. So right before you go to bed, and if you meditate, you'll find you go to sleep and you don't work. You don't stress. How many of you work when you're asleep, like thinking about your life or your relationships or your job? It's like, give yourself a break. And I got to say, 90% of my dreams are like, I'm like flying around and dancing through flower beds, you know? Like seriously, they're so fun. I can't wait to go to sleep. And that's because I kind of clear my mind of all that stuff. And the final thing, and we can do this together, is you will bow to yourself if you're alone, and to the world, or to one another if you're in a group situation, before and after the meditation. So that's a little formal bookend, right? If you don't have the bookends, the books just kind of flop. So because you're setting your own schedule for the meditation, you want to at least have the bookend in the front and the beginning. It's kind of like saying your prayers before and after a meal or something.
Right, it's living your life with intention, right?
Right.
And I think it's important to do that. And
Yeah.
it's really conscious of your day, engaged in the day in a mindful way.
Well said.
And that goes into Maitri when it comes to what's happening in our world.
Right, we
right?
could touch
Can
on
you
that.
speak that, Waylon, a little bit?
Yeah,
About-
so before I bow then,
yeah.
whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, I do hope, and I think Elephant's emphasis is that, are we all American here?
Yeah.
If we're not American here, we're all world citizens, but most of us, if not all of us, are American here. So we're all in this together, whether we like it or not. So right now we're a little bit like a rowboat, where like one person's like trying to, you know, knock a hole in it for 4 or 8 years, and the other person's like getting the water out, and then it switches, right? So without descending into safe cliche, we have, whether you like him or not, some people like him, some people don't, we have one of the more interesting, intense presidents ever. And things are changing incredibly fast. I've been saying I don't think I've seen this much rapid change since, what, 1930? Was that when FDR came in? And he obviously had the Great Depression on his hands. And so it's going to be an intense time. And our tendency, especially fueled by Facebook and Instagram, if we want to blame things that aren't ourselves, is to engage in self-righteous invective. And with people we agree with, self-righteous agreement. And, you know, recently there was a video of this liberal protester punching this alt-right guy who likes Hitler. He, like, openly likes Hitler. And the protester punched him in the head. And in my liberal, I'm a liberal, in my liberal Boulder Facebook world, people are debating whether that was okay or not. And News at 11, I hope it's not a big surprise, it's not okay to punch people in the head. You know, Gandhi defeated the British Empire through nonviolence. Martin Luther King changed America for the better through nonviolence. And it's incredibly hard. You have to be so much braver to engage in nonviolence or love, as Martin Luther King reminded us. Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. reminded us. Love is not passive. So anyone who tells you, and to the Trump supporters out there, respectfully, like, stop telling liberals to stop complaining and calling them snowflakes. Like, the insults going back and forth are intense. Like, the complaints around Obama were epic. Both sides are going to complain and be scared, and that's because what we in our groups view as America is being threatened, whatever side we're on. And so, yeah, if you're a protester, liberal, conservative, don't punch anyone. If you have to express yourself through aggression, what's that quote? Like, the first person to raise their voice has lost the argument. I think that's pretty accurate. That said, I am not urging people not to be active. Like, I personally found the Women's March incredibly inspiring. It was nonviolent, it was loving, it was pretty funny. The signs were hysterical. You know, but the Women's March isn't enough. We have to really get together. I think there was a beautiful article in the New York Times recently by, good God, a conservative, saying between the inauguration and the Women's March, if you look at all those people, so many people are inspired to be active right now. So whether they're on your team or not, from a Shambhala Buddhist point of view, we all want, except for Scott Pruitt and Donald Trump, we all want clean air. We all want green grass. We all want our grandchildren to be safe and happy and healthy, right? We all want to be joyful. So we can be united in that. And that is one reason why I am an environmentalist, is I care about those things for everyone. But, and I do think conservatives have an amazing environmental legacy. Nixon, of all people, created the Clean Air Act, and Teddy Roosevelt with the national parks. So this should not be, the environment, for one thing, should not be a partisan issue. We all need it. So my one urging, my nerdy environmental wagging of the finger moment that we can close with as a solution to Trump, whether you love him or not, is don't use plastic to-go cups or bottles. It's a moment, it's a way, and I'm not criticizing anyone, it's a way to be mindful in your everyday life. So you can be mindful in your actions, and that can actually bring you back to meditation in your everyday life. Which helps, because you forget about meditation off the cushion sometimes, you know. So for me, turning off the lights in my house is slowing down. I take off my shoes before I go into my house. I know no one wears shoes in Florida, it seems like. These are shoes. We wear them in Colorado. It's cold. That's also why I dressed up and I'm sweating. What's that?
You can take it off.
All right.
Take it off.
The video readership will either collapse or skyrocket.
Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, any questions?
And do you want to answer any Facebook Live questions, or no? We're good?
I think there's probably so many. I will, for those who have commented on Facebook, Lindsay's been live covering on Facebook, but I will spend an hour tonight. I'll go through all the comments.
Okay. Anybody else?
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was just curious how you came up with Elephant Journal, just in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is Elephant in a nutshell. Remember that from Austin Powers? This is me in a nutshell. Is anyone else interested in that?
Yes.
Because I can talk one-on-one.
Yes.
Okay. So Elephant started 14 years ago, which is a long time. It actually started, I didn't start what Elephant began as. It was called Yoga in the Rockies. And I was a trained journalist, and I wanted to start a business and make $20 million and run for president and raise a family. So I was like, I'm ready to start a business, and I partnered with this guy. And within a month, he more or less quit. He was the business guy. I had no idea about business, like almost none. And I had invested my meager life savings already. And I said, you can't quit because I don't have any idea what I'm doing. And he said, look, I just realized that media and magazines particularly are probably the dumbest possible way to even make like $30,000 a year. It'll take us like 7 years, which turned out to be pretty true. And I said, that's all right. I have found something I love. I loved working with authors and editing, and even selling ads I turned out to be pretty good at, and which I thankfully don't do anymore. I'm a little OD'd on it, but I really enjoyed creating this magazine. So I renamed it Elephant Journal, because we weren't really about yoga, although we were, and we weren't really about the Rockies. I wanted to be national, international. I wanted to be accessible. I wanted to help change the world for the better, not in an aggressive way, but in a kind of community way. A lot of people want to change the world in a kind of aggressive way. Like, I want to make you more how I think the world should be. We wanted to kind of create this community. And part of our mission right now is, you know, whenever I am liberal, I'm pretty moderate. My dad is conservative. I'm always inviting conservatives to write. Like, if anyone's here is conservative, I'm so excited about that, and please write on Elephant. And I would love to hear from you about your perspective, because I honestly would learn a lot. And so I renamed it Elephant, which connects with the yoga tradition. Elephants are sacred. Ganesh. My Buddhist name is Lord of Wealth, so that connects with Ganesh, if you know. And elephants are sacred in Buddhism. Elephants are also incredibly vulnerable to mankind. Normally I would say humankind, but in this case I'm going to blame the patriarchy, because we are killing these animals that need vast ranges, right? So the elephant is sort of like the frog and the canary in the gold mine, right? Is that it?
Yeah.
Where if the big animals that need a big range are starting to die, we're starting to kind of eat into the last healthy, unmessed up. I mean, can you imagine? I was imagining all day. I'm staying in Old Town, thanks to Melanie. And can you imagine how stunning Stuart was like 75 years ago. I think, I mean, it's stunning now. We went for a drive, but like, can you imagine 75 years ago here? I was looking at one of those historic things with like President Grover Cleveland, I think it was. Does anyone know? Bought a house here right before he died, but must have just been stunning. And anyway, so elephant, pretty good. I had a list of like 40 names, and my girlfriend at the time, Rose, who helped start it all, I was reading all the names. One of them was Anjali, and I said elephant, and I skipped past it, and she was like, elephant. So I went back to that, and elephants are also vegan. I'm now vegan. They're matriarchal. I'm not a huge like patriarchy versus matriarchy kind of guy. I'm more into the equality thing, but I do think the matriarchs of the world could kind of take over for a little while. It'd be all right. Yeah, I was raised by an amazing single mom, and then the magazine went national. We were super eco, and the bigger we got, once you have a magazine that go kind of big, like Mindful, those are buddies of mine. I grew up in that community, the Shambhala community that publishes that magazine. Anyway, once you get huge, some of you who worked in bookstores when you were in college or something might know 75% of magazines are never sold, and they're kind of recycled, and recycling is not green generally. It's way better than trashing, but recycling paper, you have to pull the toxic inks out of it, and you have to repulp it, and it degrades, so it becomes like toilet paper, and it's super energy intensive. Recycling plastic is far worse. Recycling paper is pretty okay. But so we went online, and I lost my office. It was like a cowboy song. My name's Waylon, you know. So I lost my office. I lost my staff. I lost all my advertisers because I went online. I had no readers, you know. And I gave my car to a friend who needed it for commute, and I couldn't afford it, and wasn't worth that much anyway. And my house went into foreclosure, and I rebuilt Elephant on, and I was so inspired, on my laptop, which was half broken, so all the windows had to be in the top left corner. And I kind of went blind working on this little thing, and I would go to the grocery store. I couldn't even read the labels to see what I was getting. And luckily my vision came back, and Elephant came back, and we've reached 23 million readers at our peak, and we've been named #1 in the US twice for environmental coverage, which again is not hopefully a partisan issue, and 5 million Facebook fans and nearly 500,000 on Instagram. On our 3 or 4, we have a new account, but mainly 3 accounts, and we're employing and paying 24 people super well, and we're super proud of that, and it's fun at this point for maybe the first time in 14 brutal years. And my house didn't totally go into foreclosure. I rescued it by tweeting at Citibank, which would not return any of my calls, part of the housing crisis. They just didn't care. And I tweeted Citibank and I said, I can pay, please let me pay, I've been calling you. If anyone sees this and cares, please retweet. And there were like 18,000 retweets in like 6 hours or something, and Citibank literally messaged me on Twitter like, please shut up. We'll assign an account manager to your situation.
What year was that one that you did that? That you tweeted that?
My memory is like 2009, so probably right in the crisis. And so I'm still in that same house, and my credit's back. It's back. And anyway. Yeah, thank you. So if any of you want to write on Elephant, we're joking about how much I say elephantjournal.com/submit. But you can write about anything that you want, as long as it's sort of helpful for other people. We have poetry, we have art, whatever. And then the final moment tonight, if I may,
Yes.
and we can direct this mostly at Melanie, but she has to bow back at us, is you can put your hands together or you can put them on your lap. And the whole point of meditation, and hopefully of tonight, and talking about love and all this, isn't just our own happiness, but it's to be a benefit to the world. And benefit to ourselves, and a benefit to others. So if you can put your hands together, which symbolizes originally the Bodhi seed, the tree that the Buddha sat beneath when he became enlightened. And we have some beautiful trees here I'm in love with. So thank you so much to the Mindful Path and to all of you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
one day governor of Colorado.
Yeah.
And I'll be managing his campaign.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
this is your presence at the beginning.
Yeah.
Right?
We have that recorded, so now you have to.
I know.
It's not really a fundraiser, but we were talking about
we
my
don't have that
political,
recorded. It's
passion.
not recorded.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you, darling.
Thank
that
you.
was fantastic.
How was that?
That
Mindful
was pretty
path?
good. That was pretty good. That was pretty good. Waylon's going to do Civic Club.
How was my talk and all that? Was it okay? Like applaud how much you like it.
He wants feedback.
All right. Now how is Melanie in the mindful path?
Okay. We're going to do book signings over there if you're interested in purchasing, right? We'll hang out over there.
Yeah, and I'm happy to inscribe anything.
Yeah, and just for a little chit chat for a little while. So
Yeah.
thank you guys for coming, and that's
thank you, Melanie. Thank you,
darling.
Mindful Path.
Okay, good.
Thank you, everyone, and I will get back to you guys next time. And Griselda, tell me about it.